Okay, welcome to Cobra Kai Never Dies. I'm your host, Nina.
I'm your other host, Letha.
We are halfway through Season 2, Episode 5, All In.
Indeed. And unlike our previous episode, it is very clear why the title is All In. It is something that is said several times.
Yes, the IMDb synopsis. Daniel struggles to help a new student learn. Miguel makes a new connection, while Johnny tries to repair a relationship. Tensions between the two dojos build to a breaking point. It's fairly good, I think.
Unlike the previous episode, this is just describes what happens.
Yes. Somehow, a new connection makes me think of LinkedIn. It's just very,
Miguel networks in the dojo, and now has a new professional contact.
A third connection to the dojo, and he could get a job there, guys. Yeah, I really like this episode. There's a lot to unpack here. So, where are we starting?
Let's start with Eli and Hawk.
Yeah,
Eli is Hawk.
Right, because it weirdly opens with Eli, which is very surprising because last episode I think we were talking about how one note Eli's character, I guess we're switching back and forth.
His name is really Eli Moskowitz. He goes by Hawk now.
Yeah.
But we call him both, sorry.
Yes. It's Hawk, formerly known as Eli. And I think he's fully Hawk now. So you get a little bit of Hawk's backstory in a really kind of well thought out scene. All it takes is just one scene, and it's the scene where Hawk's mom is making a call to the school to report the bullying, and I just feel like it's really well acted.
Oh yeah, I mean, this is Eli, as we haven't seen him in a very long time. He's crying, he's red eyed, he's wearing an ugly sweater.
And you actually see the disconnect where he tells his mom, rightfully so, that her complaining is not going to do anything, it's just going to make it worse. And he lays out kind of the facts on the ground, which is that high school is awful. People do treat him like shit. He doesn't have a lot of friends. He doesn't have a girlfriend, and he does have this facial deformity, and so
you really feel for the kid, especially just you look at his mom, who is clearly well-meaning, but so out of touch, who thinks that calling the school, and when the school says they'll make an announcement, she's so happy, she thinks this solves all the problems, and it's just you can see his impotent kind of despair where it's no, this is making it worse. I think actually in season 1 we do see the school make an announcement from an anonymous complaint about a boy's facial disfigurement, and it's just kind of now everybody knows it's him, and they're throwing stuff at him, and it's just...
Yeah, it's a good callback, and I think I really like that they did that, because it makes kind of the rest of this episode make a lot of sense. Yeah, otherwise it would not.
It wouldn't, but you see Eli run to his room and flop right on his bed, and he's clearly crying, and you see him just lying on his stomach, and there's a really nice directorial thing where you cut to a shot of present-day Hawk lying on his stomach because he is getting his Hawk tattoo on his back finished
and
up.
On his front, he's got a little moon tattoo. What I thought was interesting is that it was a
crescent moon that has the words moon in it.
Yeah, and I was you couldn't just get the crescent; you had to write moon in it. But I mean, I'm not
16. I don't know. Maybe that makes sense. And it's a really good scene, just because you totally see that Moon's there, and she's touching his chest, and it's I get it now. He's got friends and a girlfriend and an identity beyond. I mean, that's something that he says that I think was really telling, that it's not just that he doesn't have friends and that he doesn't have a girlfriend. He says, I'm never going to be known as anything but this kid with the freaky face.
And to the extent he actually mentions Dimitri, and he says I'm always going to have loser friends.
I'm never going to have any friends other than Dimitri. That's what he says.
And so it kind of sucks because he's never really seen Dimitri as being valuable.
Yeah. Or I mean, I get it. He's this kid who's bullied all the time, and he only has one single friend.
It's a friend of convenience.
I don't know.
Sam and Aisha.
I disagree. I think that Dimitri and the person formerly known as Eli were good friends. It's just that I get what he's saying, that it's he's got one friend, and his friend is bullied as much as he does, and they're reminded every day that they're losers. So I don't know if he's saying that Eli doesn't matter as a friend, but Eli is such a connection... Sorry, not Eli. Dimitri matters to him as a friend, but Dimitri is clearly a connection to the person he used to be.
Yeah.
And now he's this different person who has a girlfriend and lots of friends, and this is the most sympathy I will ever feel for this character, but he is something more than the kid with the facial disfigurement.
Guys, as we were discussing this, Lutha has shown that she has a phoenix tattoo. She's disavowing our entire childhood together.
Yeah. I rose like a phoenix after I dropped you.
Yeah.
And I get it, man.
She'd do it again.
I do it again. I do it constantly. Every week I pretend that I'm your friend again.
What I think is interesting is that, like, it so clearly shows that Cobra Kai is the center of his identity, because it's given him all these things that he never had before, and that makes him sort of like easy pickings for the likes of Kreese, because now you can see it a little bit earlier in the episode where he's essentially now a henchman for the dojo. His two, like, he has Cobra Kai lackeys that like follow him around, and it's kind of like being hazed. They're like running errands for him, and they alert him to a Yelp review.
Yes, which is actually, I noticed, looking at the screen very carefully, this Yelp review left by Dimitri is the only Yelp review that Cobra Kai has ever gotten. I really don't understand why the rest of them just don't leave more Yelp reviews. But
I'm
okay.
just going to call bullshit on this. I feel like this is kind of anachronistic. I don't feel like, Gen Z or whatever, they're not on fucking Yelp.
Gen Zers in our audience, if there are any of you.
Please tell me, how much time do you spend on Yelp to the extent...
Of course they're on Yelp. I mean, because how else do you get reviews of, like, restaurants in
I
your neighborhood?
believe that Dimitri might be on Yelp all the time.
He's got elite status.
He's an elite status. That is very believable. The idea that these... like, that... Hawk's lackeys are on Yelp, just refreshing the Cobra Kai.
Oh, I mean, that is weird. They would be on.
Super weird.
They would not be refreshing Cobra Kai. They would be looking for like places where like you can get in without a fake ID.
Yeah,
but okay, sure. Why not?
Maybe he has a Cobra Kai Google alert.
Clearly,
okay,
they all do.
Yeah.
So that's you're right. That's weird. And I also think that he's like really mad about it, and he goes to basically confront Dimitri and demand that he take it down. Now there's two ways you can look at this. One is that, like, you're right, Cobra Kai is his entire identity, and this one Yelp review is like an assault on his identity. The other is that I think he might have been looking for a way to like cut himself off from Dimitri. Like, I think that there's a part of him that's very much like, that's my old life, and he wants to disassociate from being Eli.
How much do you think they're even in contact now? Like, Dimitri is no longer, like, going to Cobra Kai. Like, he's officially part of Miyagi-Do.
Well, yeah.
Semi-officially.
Right. But he, like, earlier in the season, even when, like, Eli is, like, super alpha and Dimitri's still Dimitri, they were, like, hanging out at the beach, and they go to restaurants together, like, you know. So it's, like... And I remember, like, earlier in the season, when they're having, like, victory nachos, and Dimitri's with them, and, like, he makes some reference to how, like, he and Eli, like, won computer camp together, like, the previous year or something, because they're binary brothers.
Right.
And, you know, Eli was like, quiet with the nerd stuff. So, there's a part of me that thinks, like, he doesn't want people remembering that he was not always Hawk, that he didn't rise from the ocean fully formed
But
as
here's
Hawk.
the thing, they go to an entire high school full of people that knew old Hawk, you know, who knew him as Eli. So it's not like he's going to kill the only witness to his old self.
I know. I think it's more like, it's not literally going to erase the memory of Hawk, but it's like, I don't know, I feel like it's a psychological thing for him. He's like killing the past.
Okay.
So, or he's really angry about the Yelp review, which is just also super weird.
No, I think your theory makes sense.
And so we should probably reveal what happens after he and his weird lackeys confront Dimitri as he's looking at comic books. And, like, you know, they demand that he take the Yelp review down, he refuses. And, like, there's a moment when, like, you know, they're clearly threatening him, and Dimitri looks at Eli, at Hawk, and says, like, are you really going to hurt me? And for a second, like, I didn't think Hawk was going to do it. Do you know what I mean? Because it's, like, this is, like, his oldest and for a long time only friend.
Yeah.
It's weird, but then, like, Dimitri kind of, like, stands up for himself a bit and is like, well, I've been taking karate lessons, too, and he gets into a stance that immediately when you see it, you're like, oh, no.
Yeah. I mean, and, like, Hawk... I don't know. They try to, like, ground his character a little bit, but he says stuff that's, like, again, ridiculous. Like, to the lackeys, like, fan out. And,
oh, my
like,
God,
fucking,
yeah. When Dimitri
who told you
runs,
to think? I mean, it was just so over the top.
It's
that I was
like he entirely learned how to be a person from watching old episodes of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles
and
and
the video game bosses.
Shredder. Yeah.
And
it's
actually, perfect callback, Dimitri when he's insulting the lackeys, calls them Bebop and Rocksteady.
Which is also like, do kids these days know who the Teenage
Well,
Mutant
that's
Ninja...
the thing. That was kind of hilarious because Dimitri has this kind of like vintage comic book and nerdery going on, and like the lackeys were like, "Who's that?"
What? Yeah,
and naturally we were like, "Oh yeah, Bebop and Rocksteady."
Clearly, this show is aimed at us and not anyone in Gen Z. We understand this, but like, yeah. So like when they're chasing Dimitri down, like Hawk kicks him and then like he runs away, and they're like, yeah, he's ordering the minions to fan out and hunt him down. And one of the minions, a guy who I realize now is named Chris, is kind of like...
Yeah, we didn't learn that until the tail end of this episode.
But Chris is like, I think he learned his lesson, we can go now. Which is a nice call to reality, where it's just like, what are you guys doing? This is so dumb. But I get it. I get it, like, because, like, he's... Actually, it's more like, I get why Hawk is, like, doing this to Dimitri. It's awful, but I understand the human logic. The lackeys, I'm kind of like... What are you doing? He's not actually the boss of you.
I wonder how, like, right? I guess it's been, like, a couple weeks since they joined. And, like, just imagine you're a new student. You're like, hey, maybe I'll learn to, like, do karate. And you're, like, getting inside of a cement mixer your first week. Right? And then the second week, you're, like, forced to carry boxes for some, like, asshole.
And the third week, like, your actual minions in a video game.
Through a mall.
Right. And it's like, it's not a fraternity. You guys already belong to it.
Oh, but they're definitely going to join. Like, these are exactly, like, in 2 years, they are going to, like... be recruits for, like,
I suppose so. And you know what? I mean, I guess I can't underestimate the stupidity of people in groups, but it's like, you know, in the Karate Kid movie, like, Johnny's got these friends who, like, they all, like, gang up on Daniel and stuff together, but it's like, they are, like, friends who've known each other for years. Like, these are just guys who joined Cobra Kai 2 weeks ago. Why are they following Fox orders?
The way Hawk is acting, like, his flashback is very reminiscent of, like, Johnny, like, being young and, like, falling into Kreese's hands. And, like, it took Johnny 30 years or something to, like, get over the trauma and, like, try to become a better person. So, I think it's just showing that, like, yeah, this
Are you looking forward to the spin-off involving Hawk's Road to Redemption?
Oh my god. He's but I mean, I don't think that Johnny ever was this terrifying. Like, I don't know. I wrote down that Hawk went full incel in this episode.
Definitely. I would like to add, though, that for the actor who plays Eli/Hawk,
really,
add him to the list of people who can act.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely. He's good. You believe him. I mean, it's been so long since we've seen him as Eli, and I was just struck by how utterly believable he is as both Eli and Hawk, you know? The character Hawk is sometimes a bit too much, but, like, his performance is good.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess just to finish out Eli's / now Hawk, he's shed Eli entirely by the end of the episode.
There is only Hawk now.
Yeah, we'll get into this, but go ahead.
Should we talk about what happens when they get Dimitri in the food court?
Yes.
Because, you know, Dimitri has joined Miyagi-Do.
He is not a natural, would you say?
Yes, and okay, I guess this involves backing up and talking a bit about Dimitri's arc in this episode, which I'm happy to do, because one of my favorite things in life, and also, I mean, this season, which, you know, like, I'm not that up on, but one of my favorite things in season 2 is seeing Daniel train Dimitri.
Yeah, because so far, he's never really had to try. He's had Ravi, like, worshipping his every move. He's related to his other students.
His own daughter remembers karate moves she was taught when she was 2.
He's never really had to give a real lesson to a real newbie.
Yeah, not to Robbie, who, like, would immediately preternaturally catch on to everything. And in fact, do you know how I feel like? I feel like Miguel and Johnny, that pairing, like, they bring out the best in each other, scenes they're together. I actually felt that way about Daniel and Dimitri.
Yeah.
If there was a show about Daniel training Dimitri, I would probably like Daniel a lot better.
Hilarious, because you're learning patience. You're learning how to train somebody who shows no interest or aptitude.
Right, and, like, I love it. I love it when he, like, gives Dimitri the paint brush at the beginning and is like, you're going to paint the fence. And Dimitri is like, oh, I get it. Yeah, so I'll develop muscle memory by doing the same thing over and over again, which I'll remember in the context of a fight. Great.
But you can't develop muscle memory until you have muscles.
Ah, burn.
Life lessons.
Yeah, and he basically, like, every Daniel LaRusso Miyagi trick in the book, like, oh, sand the floor. Dimitri can't. He gets splinters. You know, okay, can you paint this wall? Why can't he use a roller? All good questions.
All good questions. And then at some point, Daniel asks him, like, why are you even here? Do you want to do this? Which is a fair question, because we're given no indication that he really wants to be here.
He brings a note from his mom saying he can't, like, tax himself.
Again, what I like is that, like, karate lays bare everyone's deepest neuroses and underlying issues, and really he's like in pain over the loss of his friendship.
Right. And he's there because his friend has become an alpha asshole who's threatening him.
And hasn't that happened to all of us, guys? Me.
Oh, God, I know.
I mean, when
threatening you was a hard day for me.
Lucka started hitting the steroids, she's just become so unbearable.
Look, once I got my Phoenix tattoo, I don't want to hang around with losers anymore. That's just how it is.
You also have a Nina tattoo in the front.
Don't flatter yourself.
Please.
But, I thought, like, the highlights of this episode, and the season again, are seeing those two characters together, because you see Daniel having to be patient and having to work with someone who just doesn't have the natural ability, but is still there for, I think, a very valid reason. And I think, like, when Dimitri tells Daniel, like, this is why I'm here, like, Daniel gets it. Because Daniel, too, was a bullied kid. Like, it's the first time that, like, I've actually, like, felt a connection to Daniel. Just, like, seeing him with Dimitri.
Yeah.
And in subsequent episodes, I hate to spoil it, but come on, you're listening to a Cobra Kai podcast. What do you want? In subsequent episodes, like, Daniel ends up teaching Dimitri by telling him stuff like, you are this person who worries about everything all the time. You're so neurotic. That can be an asset in a fight, because you're always, like, watching in every direction for what's coming. And I like that. He's working with, like, Dimitri's flaws as opposed to just Miyagiing at him, you know?
Yeah.
It's good.
And it seems like he actually wants to be a teacher instead of this just being another grandiose revenge plot.
Right.
Like,
and
because he has the money and apparently in the time to dedicate to this.
And, like, definitely when you see him with Robbie and Sam, like, he seems like he's, like, a sage, constantly imparting little platitudes and life advice, where it's like, you really see him as a teacher with Dimitri. It's so good. And anyways, we do get to... Dimitri has not picked up a lot of this stuff by the time he is confronted in the food court by Hawk and his minions.
Again, another natural thing. It's not like Tori with her 2 kickboxing lessons kicking ass. Like, Dimitri immediately gets flattened to the floor.
Right, he knows how to hold a stance and then get kicked down. But then...
Which is really what I learned from karate. So I'm telling you from hard-won experience. So he gets chased around this mall.
And then when he's at the food court... He went to the mall with Robbie and Sam, who, it's funny because they're constantly, like, eye-fucking each other. Can I say that?
The eye-fucking is intense in this. Yeah. I mean, I will say, like, both, and we don't really want to watch either of these two characters do anything, but to the extent that they're doing anything, they're eye-fucking each other in this episode.
Yeah. And so I kind of felt like...
kind of in this, like, your dad is, like, 2 feet away, and, like, I don't know.
It's pretty fun, actually, just seeing Dimitri hang out with them, because it's just,
Dimitri is the
thirdest of wheels.
I know. And he does not care. He's like, look, I don't have any friends now, and karate's the only way to get friends.
So I'm going to the mall with you guys. Sorry. So that's fun. And, like, anyways, when he gets back to the food court, he finds that they've gone, and he's, you see his moment where he's like, of course they left. But it turns out they were there. And they, like, end up doing the wheel, that technique that they've practiced for, like, 5 episodes. And they do it to ward off all the bullies at once. And
did you ever think that wheel technique would prove useful?
It was Chekhov's wheel, wasn't it? Like, as soon as they start learning it, they're going to use it.
Just in case we missed it, like, we see, like, cutaways to the wheel technique.
Which I thought was kind of like, dude, we get it.
We
understand.
Guys.
It is the technique we have seen them working on for 4 episodes. But
there's a lot of Sam and Robbie flirting.
But what did you think of the fight, actually?
I thought it was good. Again, I still feel like for the amount of time Robbie's been doing karate, then again, he spends all his time at
I suppose.
Usos. So, yeah.
And the wheel technique, which, again, seemed like, is that really a useful technique? It's kind of... you know what? I'm a sucker for Chekhov's anything. It's kind of nice to see it deployed.
This is what I want to talk about that scene. So, wheel technique seems predicated on having a partner and practicing intensely with your partner, like pair skating, to learn their moves, and then you can do this, like, very beautiful synchronized thing.
Yes.
It does not seem perfect for, like, I don't know. Maybe it only works when you're fighting off a gang of teens. I'm just saying, like, Miyagi-Do is like, okay, deeper lesson about Miyagi-Do. Miyagi-Do is about solidarity. And, like, no Dimitri left behind.
True, which is nice.
So, like, not only do they help this kid out because he's part of the dojo, but they do it together because they're relying on each other. Whereas Cobra Kai is very much about the individual. So, like, Eli's on his own path, and, you know, like whoever's the alpha of the moment, they'll like sort of glom onto them.
I see what you mean. And
like the only reason he worships Miguel is because Miguel is currently the best fighter, and if Miguel suddenly sucked at karate,
it's over.
Yeah, exactly.
So what you're saying is Cobra Kai is capitalism and Miyagi-Do is socialism.
Oh no!
So you're a Miyagi-Do person. It sounds like.
I have the headband, and that's about it. Again, guys, I'm voting for a third dojo that isn't part of this oppressive two dojo system.
The two dojo system is tearing us apart.
It is falling apart.
But I mean, the thing is, like, I totally get what you're saying, and I absolutely think that there's something really wonderful about, like, a technique where you work together and you're able to ward off more people, and that's great. But two things. First of all, like you said, it's a beautiful synchronized dance that you need to practice with a partner for hours. When would you be able to do that in a natural combat situation?
If Sam was suddenly paired with Dimitri one, they'd be screwed. But if they try to do wheel technique,
you have to specifically practice with that person, right?
Yes,
and
that's
the other
what I'm
thing
getting from that.
Is when would Daniel have learned it? He never had like another student that he trained with.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway.
Maybe we'll learn this in like the subsequent Karate Kid
Cobra Kai
sequels.
season 6, I guess. So that, yeah, and to give a little callback to that, at the end of the episode, which, by the way, that course, the entire fight was like videotaped and observed and clapped over.
Everyone and their freaking phones. This at least was more believable that it was filmed. Because
Yeah.
it's a mall and like...
Than that bizarre Daniel fight from last week.
Yeah, come on, guys.
But at the end of the episode, you know, Dimitri is like feeling pretty rotten, just in general, about life. And again, this was like one of my favorite Daniel moments is like Daniel starts saying it's okay, some people learn slower than others. And then you see him like try again with the sand the floor technique. And Dimitri's not doing it in that preternaturally amazing way that Robbie and Daniel himself seem to do it, but he's doing it, you know?
Yeah.
And that's nice.
Yeah.
Kids, this is finally a realistic example of what learning karate looks like.
Yeah, it's slow and painful, and maybe you'll never get better, as I learned. But
isn't
you're
that
still
life?
doing it?
Isn't that the greatest life lesson of all?
And I hate to say this, but while we're talking about the teens,
we got to do Sam and Robbie, huh?
We do. Okay.
Karate flirting.
Okay, so the karate flirting has now reached
maximum velocity. Totally.
I guess. I don't know. Do you think they have chemistry? I hate to even ask, but
I
it's
mean,
a gross question, but I have to.
Do you know what? Despite the fact, and I feel bad because they're probably both like 18 or something in real life.
I think they're over 18.
Okay, then I can say it. I don't think either of them are very good actors, but I do think that when they're with each other, they do seem like they like each other. So that's something.
Yeah,
I guess.
So it's like teens who like each other.
They're teens who like each other. I think there's a moment actually, and this shocked me when like Robbie is showing Sam his old license, and he has a man bun.
Oh my god, I wrote that, guys. Robbie's hair was even worse than it currently is.
It's crazy.
I mean, we were wondering, wow, was he born with a head of hair like that? No. You know, I will say actually, of the two haircuts, which do you think that...
The man bun's better.
Yeah, exactly, right?
It's crazy.
Go back to the man bun.
I might like him better as a character if he was currently sporting a man bun. His hair bugs me. It legitimately bugs me.
It's the worst. Please change it. And Sam was like, I could have saved you from that. Girl,
save him now. My God.
He needs you. He's drowning. So they're bonding over that. And I will say, what's interesting to me is like, Sam and Robbie are such strange teens. They're so isolated. I mean, like, I don't understand. They seem like nice, inoffensive kids. I don't know what's going on in this high school that they have to hang around.
Well, it is summer. But yes, I mean,
again, shouldn't you have?
Sam has broken with everybody she used to be friends with, and Robbie apparently only used to hang out with those thugs who looked like they were 45. So, in a way, they've both broken with their old crowds.
So maybe they don't have anywhere else to hang.
They're like those kids on the Blue Lagoon or something, right? Like they're on an island together.
They even suspiciously sort of look alike. Is that just me?
Daniel also treats Robbie as a member of the family.
Well, actually, I noted in the last episode that when Amanda LaRusso was talking to Robbie, I was like, whoa, she's got like the same hair and eyes like Robbie does.
So you think Robbie might actually be Daniel's son?
That would be an amazing twist. No. Amanda and Johnny's son.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, sure, maybe I'd go for it. I would be here for it.
Yeah.
Anything that makes it that mixes things up a little bit, you know.
Okay, we're getting away from that. So yeah, this like all the eye fucking leads to this very kind of like...
Oh, and of course they did the wheel together, which is basically, as
Yeah,
I
it's
said,
foreplay.
like having sex.
Yeah, I
in
mean, where
karate.
can you go from the wheel?
So there-
Pregnancy. Right?
Yes.
That's gross. Anyway, so yes, afterwards they're like recapping. They're on this high from this fight, and Dimitri, I guess, is like off.
Oh yeah, Dimitri is just Dimitri.
Yeah,
somewhere.
they're like, I don't know. Would you want to be around Sam and Robbie like eye fucking each other? No. So anyway, their flirting reaches its flaccid conclusion. They have a failed kiss over a s'more.
I actually liked this moment a lot.
I did,
because, and it's like one of the few moments between these two characters where I'm like, that feels right, because like they're leaning towards each other, and Robbie says like he's the one who aborts it, and he's kind of like, this is a great setup for him. He was formerly like living in an apartment with no heat or electricity or food. Now he lives in this really nice place with a guy who's like his father figure. And I actually really like this, that Robbie would think like, wait, making out with this guy's daughter could be a very bad idea.
Earlier Daniel had been like, welcome to the family, essentially.
Right.
I will say what I would love to see, if we're trying to make Robbie a more interesting character to watch, one, as we mentioned in the previous episode, it'd be helpful to do some callbacks to his decade of being a bad boy. But two, I just want him to like lean into the grifter thing where he's like got this nice home and stuff, and he's like, it's a very sensible choice.
It is so sensible.
It is also a Kreese choice. Kreese is like, hey, I'm trying to get running water and food, and this dojo is the only way to get back on top.
And to be honest, it's like, in a way, it makes me more sympathetic to Robbie, because you see, he's not like, I mean, the whole thing is like, this show kind of forgets immediately, like, he's supposed to have, like, kind of a deprived past. This is a moment where you're like, yeah, man, like, for a kid like Sam, who's had everything, like, why not go for the kiss? For, like, this kid...
Yeah, I can't imagine stealing silverware from a country club.
Right. This kid, like, he's finally in this good place, and he's just like, am I going to jeopardize this for this chick? I don't know, maybe not.
I mean, it's Sam. I mean, really think about that, Robbie.
Do not jeopardize it for this chick.
Shit. What do you... Okay, so I think this is a good segue to what's going on with Miguel. And Tori. So, what I noted is, so Tori... I mean, we don't... The only thing I learn about Tori from this episode is she has game.
Like, she does.
Holy shit, does she have game. If I had half the game that Tori has, I mean, I wouldn't even be here recording this podcast.
What?
I mean, shit, I'd be knacking on dudes all over playgrounds in the tri-state area.
Well, it's nice to know how you feel.
Whatever.
I think that, actually, there's some nice moments. And again, Tori is, like, not much of a character, but this episode probably has, like, some of her best moments.
Yeah,
really.
they're on a... I guess Miguel is not quite aware this is a date.
No, because this is the episode when, at the beginning, Miguel is trying to woo Sam back. You see, at the Cobra Kai dojo, the karate lesson of the day was about how, like, sometimes when you're, like, in a chokehold or something, you know, you gotta make a move of some kind. You might get beat up and hurt, you might
really
not.
Great lines, that whole speech.
But you just gotta go. I mean, you wanna play it? We can play it.
Yeah.
Okay, pay attention. He's got my neck, I've got his elbow. If I try to break out,
I dig in, and I put him to sleep.
if I go for his ribs,
He completely exposes his chest.
two difficult choices. What do you do? You damn the consequences and you power forward.
You may get hurt, but nobody wins by doing nothing.
You make a choice. You make a move. You go all in.
But yeah, the point that, like, you see the students, like, nodding along with is that sometimes you gotta make a choice. You gotta go all in. Miguel, of course, thinks that this is the perfect lesson for his love life, and decides that he will get Sam back by making her an incredibly cringeworthy Photoshop
That's sort of adorable.
It is adorable. It is actually exactly, I think, what a kid in high school would think was a good idea.
It's scored to Roxette.
It's the kind of thing that would have won Nina's heart, I think.
Oh, hell yes. Now,
it's
then,
got
anytime.
Oh, it's got, like, a picture of Sam and Miguel together in a heart, and that heart breaking, and then an octopus putting the heart back together.
I am bothered that this is about Sam. I think, like...
It's very cute, and also gave me secondhand embarrassment. He shows it to Tori, because she's basically trying to flirt with him and bugging him about it, and he's like, okay, I could use a girl's opinion. And while you know that Tori trashes it and says, like, don't ever send this, delete it, you know she's saying that because she's into him. She's not wrong, exactly.
Oh, yeah. But, I mean, I think Sam is kind of, like, making moves of her own. And
do you think this would have won Sam back?
I think Sam is into Miguel. I think she's into whoever's in front of her. So if she gets an indication that Miguel is, like, still into her...
No way.
She's going to be fielding her options.
You think? I mean, she was pretty adamant about not talking to him in previous episodes.
I think Sam, as I've said many times, will do what the easiest course of action is. She made her move, sort of, with Robbie. Robbie's like, I'm not fucking up my home situation. Sorry, Sam. So
you think, like, a well-timed, like,
Sam was on the
Photoshop
rebound.
presentation?
Yeah, exactly.
But, he doesn't end up sending it, because Tori talks him out of it, and instead takes him on kind of a pseudo-date that Miguel does not realize is a date.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, look around you. You're in an abandoned playground.
They go to an abandoned playground, and again...
It's already a better... Like, she's already more fun than Sam by, like, 10,000 miles.
Is that hard?
No, it's not.
But
no, it's not.
They're having fun, and Tori does something that, like... Again, I felt like throughout the season, Tori is just kind of, like... an idea of a character, like, oh, she's a bad girl from the wrong side of the tracks with moves.
Yeah.
But I love this. At one point in the abandoned playground, she's like, she checks her watch and then makes them both lie down and watch a 747 fly overhead. And she says, 10:36 p.m. every day. That's the last flight out of Burbank. And that's such a weird thing for, like, a teenage girl to do that I found that very endearing.
It gives her a personality, and I will say this. If Sam's defining character trait is that she's passive and never makes any moves, then the date, which, like, ends with them talking about the karate lesson and going all in and making a move, Tori goes after what she wants.
And do you know the one thing that I would have changed about this? Mm-hmm. Is that there's a moment, like, after they watch the planes and, like, you know... Miguel brings up Sam again, and Tori's just like, stop it. Stop talking about this. You gotta make a move.
We're all with you, girl.
Right. And then at that moment, they're looking into each other's eyes, and Miguel kisses her. It should have been Tori kissing him, because she's clearly the one who wants to make the move. And that seems to be the theme. Go all in, make the move. I feel like it would have been more of a blow for feminism if she just...
No, I think it didn't track that Miguel was the one to do it.
Yeah, he should have been... Him. Yeah, he should have just been like, what? And she said it, you know?
Yeah, she's taken them... all the way. She also said this thing about the PowerPoint about, like, that PowerPoint was kind of desperate and girls aren't into desperate guys. What do you think about that?
True. It's very cute and very endearing, but generally that is absolutely, like, the truth. Like, when you're like, oh man, this guy's, like, got fatal attraction syndrome. Desperation is not cute on either gender. I mean, that's just how it is.
So that PowerPoint is desperate.
Yeah, it's pretty desperate.
I better delete my PowerPoint then. It's fine. It's fine, guys. Whatever. It's not like I spent hours on it.
Nina, I got a Phoenix tattoo. I got no time for your PowerPoints.
And a Nina tattoo.
I do not. Ooh, you have a Nina tattoo.
That is a good segue. What becomes of these? So we're back to Eli, I think. So Eli's arc he's coming off this kind of humiliating defeat at the hands of Miyagi-Do at the mall. He actually gets, like, kicked to the ground by Robbie. It's, like, a pretty good kick.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's attempting one of his weird flying hawk kicks, which never seemed that useful, but okay.
And then the next scene, it kind of, like, cuts to him and Moon arguing in the parking lot, where she's asking the question on all her minds, like, you went after your oldest friend for a Yelp review, which is just insane. And he was like, yeah, what about it? And I'd do it again. And I'd killed him. And Moon is just, like, she has a good head on her shoulders. And I think, she was kind of honest. I love that she was like, I'm kind of into your muscles and your haircut, but I'm not into, like, dating a bully.
Which is, it's weird.
It's pure.
I like Moon. I don't quite, her character's not super consistent. Do you know what I mean? Like last season, she was kind of a bully, and she was also like
she was hanging out with
I
bullies.
guess she was I guess there was only one bully in that group, and Moon was just along for the ride. But okay. And like last season, like she was making fun of Aisha. Now she's kind of buds with Aisha. I don't know, man. But I like maybe it's just that the actress who portrays her is just part of the not bad actors. I like her. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think she's like I think she's like very honest and like just sort of like sorry, not doing it, which is again what Sam would never do with her Asian bully boyfriend.
She would have considered like she just wrung her hands and just wait for somebody to do something.
Right.
What I like is that Moon's kind of exit is that she dumps him and she walks away.
Oh,
and he's like,
yeah,
the moon tattoo, like that means forever, which is very hilarious to me because she was like, I didn't ask you to do that.
Yep,
and
it's
I
great.
was like, fair.
Girls, remember this. You didn't ask the guy to get the tattoo. Doesn't mean he owns you.
Tattoo somebody's name, guys. Wino forever might be a reference no one gets. Johnny Depp, when he was dating Winona Ryder, he got Winona forever, and then when they broke up,
Wino forever. That's pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
Thank you for that timely Winona Ryder Johnny Depp reference.
Anytime.
But yeah, so he goes back into the dojo to like kick the crap out of a punching bag. He's clearly like upset. And that's exactly when Kreese knows he can... Is Kreese like always there? Jesus.
Yes, now that I feel like probably he's sleeping in the back.
Oh yeah, because literal homeless man Kreese is sleeping in the dojo.
Yeah.
So he comes in with his like weird like pouty face and is just like...
He's always lurking. He does a good lurk.
Yeah. And he basically convinces Hawk that like the fight's not over till you say it's over. So even though that he and his goons were clearly beaten by Miyagi-Do, he can like get back some dignity by going to Miyagi-Do in the middle of the night and graffitiing it.
Yeah, I gotta think. And again, the lackeys are there. He's like rolling deep with like his entourage, and they completely destroy Miyagi-Do. They steal Miyagi's Medal of Honor, and they deface the car that Miyagi gave to Daniel. And it's generally, and I think like they did a flashback of when Daniel in the original Karate Kid got the car from Miyagi, and it's very touching. And then you're like, man, it's good that they do that, because
Daniel's reaction to, I felt like, especially to the Medal of Honor being stolen, like you can tell he's emotional about it. Like not just angry, but
if they had just defaced Miyagi-Do, which to be honest is like a couple of screens put up and that stupid wheel, then no one would have cared. But I think that they went after Miyagi's stuff was like, it was also a good call. If I remember correctly, similar actions happened in one of the Karate Kid sequels where like Miyagi's bonsai was attacked and
I believe that was number 3.
Yeah.
So and I also, although it's like a super shitty thing to do, I did not think it was like out of character for Hawk to do this. And as for the other kids who like went with him, not all of Cobra Kai, but like some, like maybe 4 or 5 others, kids do shit like this. Kids are the worst.
And I would say,
oh my god.
What I thought so Daniel marches into Cobra Kai, like incensed, and he starts making all these accusations, and I was thinking of Sam when I was like, wow, is it like a LaRusso trait to immediately think the worst of people that you don't trust? Like, so she thought Tori had like stolen her mom's wallet, and like Daniel is just like, just 2 minutes ago was talking about balance and like whatever.
But I get it. He's upset. He's inclined to think the worst of Johnny. He has no, like I ordinarily I'm just like, Daniel, you fucking idiot. But like, I think that him assuming that like Johnny was behind it, like I get it. Johnny once defaced a billboard, and with his face on it.
And then it's also, I guess, preceded by Johnny, who has his own arc, but he's checking on Robbie and shaking down various dealerships. This all stems from basically like Kreese being Kreese. It's just like, it would have been a better lesson if your son was there. You've got to go all in to get him back. And it's just like, God, Kreese is just like this weird, like a homeless hobo, just hanging around. Like, he's had a lot of time to think of those. He's like the evil version of Jiminy Cricket, just like sitting on people's shoulders. It gets tiresome to me, not for Nina, who loves Kreese for some reason, but
you love him too. I love his eyes light up every time Kreese is there
because his face is so ridiculous. But in our last episode, we were talking about how the problem with Cobra Kai this season is that there's nothing surprising about it. No expectations are ever subverted, and I feel like that is nowhere more true than it is with Kreese, who's like, oh, who's here? It's Kreese. Do you think he's going to say something to make somebody do the worst thing ever? Yes. Yes, he will.
He's Machiavelli.
He has
he's
no...
really fully leaned into this role.
Oh, God. There's no depth to him. There's nothing surprising about him. He's just like a homeless bad fairy.
Yeah, and it actually, I wish they'd added some nuance to Kreese, because it makes Johnny kind of getting pulled under his spell. Like, Miguel is suspicious. I think anyone with half a brain is suspicious.
Kreese's face
yeah, like
is suspicious.
It's not a trustworthy face,
Right.
So it just makes it like all the more.
It's just like, Johnny, what are you doing, man?
It also makes it endearing because Johnny is like so clearly, like he has his own daddy issues.
Right. Kreese was clearly his father figure. Okay, but anyways, like this ridiculous anti-pep talk makes Johnny think, like, I do have to, like, go all in and try to rekindle my relationship with Robbie. Which is weird, because the episode is clearly not about that. Because, like, you see him going to the apartment where Robbie used to live. There's an eviction notice on the door. He goes to the LaRusso auto dealership to, like, see if he can find Robbie. And, like...
Can we confirm now that Robbie's mom is a shitty mother? Because, like...
Yeah, where the hell is
she? I guess still in... Cancun or whatever, but like adjacent. If they've been evicted because Rick didn't pay the rent or whatever,
right? It's actually pretty it's pretty ridiculous. Like, you just don't hear from her for like 8 episodes, but after that, like, you see Johnny like roughing up like one of the LaRusso auto dealer guys who's just kind of like, I don't know where he is, and then you see Johnny like basically slam him against a car. And again, I like that the show basically, like, although it's clearly, like, on Johnny's side, you can see, like, that's a shitty thing to do. And I feel like the employee says something really telling, which is, like, this is the real world. It's not a dojo. You don't assault people, It's like...
I mean, but also it's this town. Let's be real.
This whole town is a dojo. But... So, anyways, like,
your boss is currently spending all of his time creating a dojo from scratch. So, I mean, don't talk to me about the real world.
Fair. And the employee does, like, say eventually that Robbie's been living with the LaRussos. And the next time you see Johnny, he is...
day drinking.
So drunk. He's, like, back at the apartment complex he lives in, and he's, like, just holding a bottle in a paper bag. And who should see him but Miguel's mom, Carmen?
I will say I'm annoyed by the supportive female voice of reason characterization on this show. It's like, it's bad enough we have Sam, who is a nothing burger, but then, like, Amanda lives to, like, basically rein in the LaRusso auto budget market. Like, she's the financial oversight and also, like, the only sensible person.
I give her credit because she's funny most of the time, but yes.
But it's just this, like, they exist to prop up the male characters, and, like, once again, like, I mean, so, her name is Carmen?
Her name is Carmen.
Yes. So she gives Johnny a little pep talk about being the better person and rising above it.
Basically, despite the fact that, like, you might have thought this episode was about Johnny trying to, like, win back Robbie, it turns into ultimately, like, he's clearly, like, very drunk because, like, the LaRussos now have his son. In this conversation with Carmen, he's clearly very upset with Daniel, and, like, Daniel has been ruining his life since high school, and it's like, not a lot of this has to do with Robbie, does it? But
yeah, well, again, I think it proves my point. It's not really about Robbie. Had, I think, Robbie, like, been sort of pseudo-adopted by anyone else, I think Johnny would have been like, okay, if you want to live there, sure.
I mean... Maybe, because it's like this. It's just interesting because it's like I always thought, like, yeah, he really does feel bad about the Robbie thing, and his drive for second chances is all about the fact that he thinks he can't get one with Robbie. But yeah, he does definitely in this episode. He's more all about Daniel, and Carmen has to be like, you gotta let this go. You gotta be the better man.
Do we want to talk about the heavy foreshadowing, Carmen's character and her experience? She's seen this all before, and
it doesn't end well. And immediately we turn to each other, and she says something about, like, my ex-husband. He had so many enemies.
Who is unnamed, guys. Miguel's dad, unnamed.
Had a lot of enemies in South America. You know who else was in South America? Possibly around the time of Miguel's birth?
One Terry Silver.
Terry Silver.
The hero of Karate Kid Part 3.
The hero. Anyways... erstwhile Karate Kid villain Terry Silver may or may not be Miguel's father.
I'm looking forward to Terry Silver's
I mean, he's probably not Miguel's father, realistically speaking, because Miguel is clearly 100% Latino, and Terry Silver was as white as the day is long.
guys, genetics is complicated business. You can't predict how your kids turn out. Where did Robbie get that hair from? Is he Amanda and Johnny's illegitimate son?
Show me a picture of him not being their illegitimate son. Think about it. Think about it. So anyways, a little conspiracy theory here and there. But the episode culminates with Daniel storming into Cobra Kai. As Nina said, hurling accusations that it was Johnny who was behind the defacing of Miyagi-Do. And, it's in the middle of a Cobra Kai lesson. Daniel, gets his shoes on the mat. Johnny has no idea what he's talking about. But there's, this standoff that, again, mostly I'm anti-Daniel. But here it's I get why he's upset, and I get why he thinks it might have been Johnny. But, they're looking at each other, and, it's... At that point, Daniel, looks around and is y'all should join Miyagi-Do, where we treat each other right, or I don't know, something like that.
I can't believe that he's that fired up, and then he uses that as a pitch for his not a real business.
But then again, he's probably thinking that, all these kids are going a bad way and becoming bad seeds because of Cobra Kai, because that's Daniel's view of the world, and he even says at one point, it's good to be reminded who the real villains are. Which, I get it, the show's trying to, nod, it's hard to know who the real villains are. Although that's not actually true this season, where they clearly
It's Kreese, guys. It's Kreese.
Yeah, it's guys, you've kind of abandoned moral complexity for, Kreese is clearly, Satan. And he's everywhere, all at once.
I do want to, have a scene where he's talking to the Dark Prince.
Right? It's,
getting orders.
It's right around the corner. Kreese is pouting / smirking in the background. And, Daniel's at one point all right, are we going to throw down? He's I'm not going to strike first. And while ordinarily Johnny would strike, he has learned a lesson in this episode about, I don't know, turning the other cheek or something. And he decides not to. And then Kreese makes another weird pouting face that could mean anything.
Yeah, now he's he's in some sort of thick plot with Hawk. They're colluded to destroy Miyagi-Do.
To what end? Because what happens after that
I just think Kreese is an agent of chaos. He's not content. He wants to do bad karate.
I guess, but what ends up happening as a result of this is Daniel walks out of the dojo, he storms out, and then half the students leave as well, and that doesn't make any sense, and here's why. Here's my Lutha thought about this. Okay. So one possible explanation is that they're leaving because, Johnny did not fight Daniel, thus showing himself to be a pussy, and they're leaving out of disgust for that. But that doesn't make any sense, because then why would a lot of them join Miyagi-Do, which is clearly the don't strike first karate? The other explanation for it is that they are disgusted with Cobra Kai's, tactics, and they're ready for something new, in which case, they could have left at any time, right?
Right.
They're not, indentured
around the
servants.
time when the cement mixer was brought in.
Yeah, and it's okay, seriously, you guys, if you really hated Cobra Kai's methods, why didn't you just leave? You knew about Miyagi-Do, they talk about Miyagi-Do all the time. Chris, who just earned a name in this episode, is one of the kids who leaves, and he's I never liked it here anyways. And I'm just kind of well, why were you there then? Who held a gun to your head?
There's just a bunch of followers,
why do you think that half of them left? Were there this many dissatisfied Cobra Kai students? I don't get it.
I don't know. If you think of, the dojo as being more than just about karate, because it's obviously Chris or whatever. He wasn't learning that much karate. He was chasing kids around a mall. So it's they're looking for community. They're looking for, they can't put a name to it. It's all these lost boys looking for, friendship and whatever. And they're not getting it, and they realize they're just looking for an out. So they got presented an alternative, and they took it.
All right. But why aren't they getting it? I don't know. The other kids are getting it.
Again, they need an alternative.
Okay. All right. Actually, that's probably a better explanation.
Some friends is better than no friends,
right?
And you can only have karate friends.
Of course, yeah. You don't have
wait
real world
for
friends.
Another dojo to open up.
But it's the dojo was already opened up. They could have gone to Miyagi-Do at any time. Instead, it's
Daniel. It's been open for a week. So
they
needed a week to mull it over.
Sure. And then Kreese has this unidentifiable expression. It's just well, thanks to your weird machinations, somehow, kind of indirectly, Cobra Kai lost half its students.
We don't know what Kreese's end goal is.
That is what I'm saying. He has no end goal except, like, how can I stir up some
exactly.
shit?
I don't think he's, like, looking at the spreadsheets and he's like, all right, we got to get 2 new students a week to clear this.
This belies something we learn later in the season, but yes, I mean, he's like the Joker. He's like just chasing cars. He doesn't know what he's going to do with one if he catches one. I think it's ridiculously stupid, but yes.
Oh my goodness.
And I think that we covered pretty much everything that happens.
Should we go, like, stray observations?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I have one.
Okay.
On the screen, it's several times in the episode. It says that there are product placements in this episode.
Okay.
What product placement?
I think it's Crease's pout is Botox. That's paid product placement. I think maybe that comic book store.
What?
I don't know. Guys, I'm grasping at straws. He wasn't drinking Coors.
He wasn't even drinking Coors, which is the biggest product placement this show has, except it doesn't really make drinking Coors look cool. And we've drank Coors while recording the show. It's really bad. Guys, just get a Corona. It's, like, not any more expensive.
Anything else would be better. I don't know. Write in, tweet at us. What are these paid product placements?
I mean, do you got any other stray observations?
Oh, don't I? I mean, more like wormholes, really. I wrote, does Dimitri have any potential as a karate student, do you think?
Well, I do like, and this comes up in a subsequent episode, as I mentioned, that, like, his weird fear of everything kind of comes in handy when it comes to, like, detecting danger and stuff. That's kind of neat. He's like all of us, I think. I mean, all of us regular, real people, where it's like, he's not that great, and he's afraid of getting hurt, you know, which is, hey, that's where most of us start. So I really like, you know what? I would watch an entire show about Daniel and Dimitri. I would. In fact, I think, let me rewrite this season. If this was a show about Johnny training Miguel and Daniel training Dimitri, It
would just be like an odd couple thing with like Daniel eventually turning into Johnny because he's like turned to drink.
He's so frustrated. He's like, oh god. And after his like a lesson with Dimitri, you see him pop open a Coors and you're like, it begins. Yeah, come on, guys, write this show. This show is gold.
Oh my god. So thoughts on Tori as a new character?
Again, the most charming and endearing moment that Tori has this entire season is her lying down at 10:36 p.m. precisely to look at a plane fly overhead. It's like such a specific and weird detail. They don't really do this much again. They just make her very much like she's a type of person more than a person.
And where do you think Miguel is in his emotional arc with... Because technically he's making all these moody PowerPoints, but... He still goes for it with Tori.
He does. But, I mean, I don't want to sound mean, but she is there, and like...
Ooh, okay, guys, we know what that would do.
And she's there, and,
not the last flight to Burbank.
He's an adolescent, and Sam isn't really giving him the time of day. I don't know, I get it. I actually get why he's like, okay, well, the girl's kissing me now, that's good. So, yeah... there really needs to be more Miguel this season, honestly.
Yeah.
He's a charming kid.
He is.
Just he's not really there in this season that much.
Right. Okay, ready for a rating?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to give this 3.5 cheesy 80s PowerPoint.
That was going to be mine, god damn it.
Pick another one, girl.
Fine. I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 erotic wheel karate techniques.
Ew, why?
Because, you know, there's nothing better than an erotic wheel karate technique. You know it.
Since we didn't do this, I'd just like to say we've had precious little Anthony watch thus far in the season. Because he's just... What has happened to Anthony? I mean...
Wait, no, he's at computer camp.
Still?
Yeah.
I mean, he must have learned all the code in the known universe by now.
Not only is he not here and he's at computer camp, they do not mention
Interestingly,
him. Nobody writes him a letter, nothing.
Oh, right, yeah. No one's checking on Anthony.
Who knows what he's up to?
Oh, I thought he's building a super robot to kill his dad.
I hope so. Honestly.
And crush the town.
To be fair, I did feel like watching Dimitri learn karate is probably what watching Anthony learn karate would be like. So he was there in spirit, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Shall we close it out?
Let's close it out. But I want to do the first thing.
Okay.
Okay, because I always do the second thing, and so today I want to do
Lotho
the first
wants to do the first thing, guys.
Strike first.
Strike hard.
No mercy.